And come to the front of the mat. Right, so here. And stand with your feet parallel, spread your toes apart, press your ball of the big toe into the floor, then the outer edge of your foot, heels. Close your eyes for just a moment and feel your upper belly breathing. And then with the inhalation, lift your heart, lengthen your neck, reach the top of your head towards the ceiling. As you exhale, broaden your shoulder blades, reach your fingertips towards the floor. Once more, inhale, reach into a long spine. Exhale, relax your face, soft lips, relaxed jaw. And then you can place your palms together. We'll just start with one arm together. So release the breath out, draw the breath in. And release your hands down. You can open your eyes and gaze ahead in a soft way. Reach the back of your head just a little back. So you're in a comfortable place, but still open, spacious, stable. And then you exhale, slightly constricting your throat. Inhale through your nose. And exhale. Again. Inhale. Exhale. Same length and same sound, but a little less volume. Inhale. Exhale. Good. Now, inhale, lift your hands up, gaze to your thumbs. Exhale, fold forward. You can bend your knees and place your palms on the floor. Inhale, straighten your arms, lift through your head. And exhale, step back to high plank. Place your knees down and just bend your elbows. Now, straight knees, press your feet down. Inhale, lift your heart a little up. Neck free. Exhale. Push back and up to downward facing dog. And breathe. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Finish the exhalation, bend your knees, lift your heels. Inhale, walk forward, lift your heart. Exhale, release your spine, neck and head. Inhale, come up, reach high. And exhale, back to Samasthiti, standing tall. Now, repeat that once more. Inhale, lift your hands up, gaze to your thumb. Exhale, fold forward, bend knees as needed. Inhale, straight arms, lift your heart. Exhale, step back and lower down using your knees or not, slowly. Now, straight knees, push your feet down. Inhale, long spine, free neck. Exhale, push back and up. 5 calm breaths, just listening to your own sound. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Finish the exhalation, prepare. And as you start inhaling, step forward. Keep inhaling as you lift your head. Exhale, release your head. Inhale, come up. Reach high. Exhale, Samasthiti. And then do one more without any other sound. Okay. Now, Surya Namaskar B. Finish your exhalation, standing tall. Samasthiti always gives you that moment to readjust, to release unnecessary tension, to reach the back of your head back with a long neck, and find that nice, calm, passive exhalation. Good. Now, bend your knees. Inhale, gaze to your thumb. Exhale as you fold. Inhale, lift your heart. Exhale, step back, and maybe not using your knees, lower down. Now, press your feet down, adjust your hands a little back, lift your heart. Exhale, push back and up. Now, left heel down, step your right foot forward. Inhale, come up, gaze to your thumbs. Exhale, place your hands and lower down. Press your feet down, activate your thighs. Inhale. Exhale. Right heel down, step your left foot forward. Inhale, as you come up, reach. Exhale. Place your hands, step back. Come down. Press your feet down, activate your legs. Soft back bend, neck is free. Exhale. 5 breaths here. Just listen to your own breathing. One more inhale. And as you exhale, bend your knees, lift your heels, gaze to the front. Inhale, walk and lift your heart. Exhale, release your head down. Bend your knees. Inhale, come up. And exhale, Samasthiti. And then do one more. Just listening to the beautiful sound of your own breathing. Take a moment if you need to, and just start. Wonderful. See? We all know already. Now, step your feet apart. Inhale. Exhale, fold forward, catch the big toes. Bend, knees are bent as needed. Inhale, lift through your spine, neck. Exhale, fold, Padangusthasana. And again, calm breathing, active inhalation into your diaphragm. Relaxing exhalation. That's 3, 4, and 5. Finish that exhalation. Inhale, lift through your heart. Exhale, stay down. Then inhale, place your hands under your feet, lift your heart. Exhale, fold into the pose, Padahastasana. 1. Calm breathing, just listen to the sound of your own breath. That's already 4. And 5. Finish that exhalation. Inhale, lift through your heart. Exhale, wait. And inhale, hands on your waist, come up. And exhale, feet together. Now, we always step to the right, and we always do the right side first, in 99% of the cases. So step with your right foot back, feet parallel, hands up. Exhale, turn the right foot out, and either catch the shin, the ankle, or the big toe, whatever feels easy enough for today. And gaze to your left hand up there and breathe. Relaxing your face. And let's say that's already 4. And 5, gaze down, release your shoulders. Inhale, come up. Feet become parallel. Exhale, left foot out and go into the pose. Gazing to your right hand. Feel that soft sound created at the throat. 4. And 5, gaze down with the exhalation. Inhale, come up. Turn to the other side. Right foot comes out. Maybe adjust the back foot a little, square your pelvis. And then exhale, bring your left hand down, either to the shin or to the outside of the foot. And see if you can gaze up towards your right hand. If that's way too uncomfortable, you can place your right hand on your sacrum for today. Keep breathing. Calm breathing. If you cannot breathe, you're too deep. And that's already 4. Keep that nice, soft exhalation. And 5, gaze down to the floor. Inhale, come back up. Reach up your arms. Exhale, left foot turns. Just the back foot, square your pelvis. And then place your right hand down. Left hand up or on your sacrum. Breathe. Feel the upper belly expanding slightly as you inhale. And exhale. 3, 4, and 5. Gaze down to the floor. Inhale, come up. Open hands. And exhale, step back to the front. And again, attempt to do the same poses. This one, that one, and then, opening to the right. Right side, left side, inhale up, exhale. Right side of the twist, inhale up, exhale. Left side of the twist, inhale, come back up, and back to Samasthiti. Stand if you're done and breathe. Feel the breath in your upper belly, maybe even feeling your lower back. Check your neck and just observe how you're feeling inside. With that mild elongation in your fingertips. Mild spreading in your toes. Mild reaching through the top of your head. And then simply sit down. So, how do you feel? Good?
Great.
Good. So you see, you already know what to do. And obviously everybody is different, right? Sometimes you have a person, you say something and they just do it. Sometimes you have to show them while you tell them what to do. Like at the beginning, I was doing the sun salute with you, so you had a visual reference what to do, and I was saying it. And the second time I was only saying it. And that would have been already too much for some. So then maybe I would have to do it a second time with them. That's okay. And then the third time you just did it by yourself. And how did that feel? First time that I said, now you just do it.
Yes, okay, yeah.
It was immediately okay. And with the sun salute B, was that also immediately okay? Good. Right? So, and then with the standing sequence also immediately okay?
Yes.
Right. So you are advanced. You already know and you have that confidence essentially. Right? But all the skills in life are essentially learned like that. First, we are unconsciously unskilled. Like if I take someone from the street, has never done yoga, and I say, do a sun salute, they don't know what to do. But they also didn't know that they didn't know. And now I show them, or you say to someone like, touch your toes, like bend over, touch your toes, and they cannot do it. They maybe never tried, but now they know. So now they are consciously unskilled, right? And now we teach them, or they teach themselves, and now they become consciously skilled. Now they know what to do and they can do it. And then eventually they become unconsciously skilled, meaning they just do it, but they don't even know anymore. Like they don't have to pay attention how to do the sun salute. And that's the moment where they have an extra layer of awareness that they can now invest into something new. Into maybe learning how to really synchronize breath and movement, or how to feel certain sensations in the body as they occur. Because at the beginning it was just like, okay, I have to just focus on the movement, and now, okay, actually my hands are dead when I lift them up. Now I can lift them, reach them higher. Or, I'm doing this funny thing with my shoulder, which is not feeling actually nice, but I didn't notice it before. Now I can correct that. Or, like, I was adjusting you now. What is my pelvis doing that maybe prevents my upper body from twisting? Or from my shoulder lifting? And those are things that are very hard to get in a LED class. Because, first of all, there's a group, they all do the same thing, and for most people, they're stuck at that step one, like lift your hands. And so, Mysore classes are, for me, the best way to learn something. Because you actually have to do it yourself, not, and when I say yourself, I mean not the teacher pulling your strings like a puppet, now lift your hands, now, that's essentially not, you're doing it, it's good for the body, but you're not fully involved in the movement. And that actually makes it more likely to get injured, because you're not really controlling what comes next. You're doing it, and then you notice, there's pain or not. If you do something yourself, you cannot, you will be much more careful in all the things you do. And I was lucky, many years back, in my 20s, my brothers, both of them are like 10 and 9 years older, so I was the last one, I was the lucky one in a way, and they were my mentors, as older brothers are. I was studying in Dresden, engineering and economics, so very much rational, mathematics, doing things efficiently, And yoga for me was like, okay, my brothers are doing it. They had already essentially escaped the normal lifestyle in that sense. And so they were doing yoga, and I never was really interested. But then they started with Ashtanga yoga, one of my brothers. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Because, he gave me this, I think it was a CD
or VHS, I'm not sure anymore. But yeah, like old days, you know. And there was David Swenson, which is, you know, a guy that now is in his, I think, 70s. He's still doing crazy stuff, more than I can do. And he was doing this yoga where he would jump into handstands and jump through with his legs, you know, through his arms, lift up himself into a handstand from sitting, you know. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I want to do that, you know. I don't care about yoga, but this looks really cool. And so I started doing that every day. And essentially, you know, I was just getting out of a relationship. I was kind of lost in life in a way, you know, just moved into my own small place to live out from my relationship place where I had lived with my ex-girlfriend. And so this was like my savior in a way. So I got the CD, I practiced with the CD for the first week or so, and then I just didn't need it anymore. Like I just, you know, because I was practicing by myself with the CD, and then, okay, well, actually it's every day the same thing, so I needed less and less. And from that, because I felt so great doing it, like this combination of stretching, strength, and the breath that brings this flow into you and that connects you to places that you didn't have a connection before. Because, you know, if you would have told me just breathe, I would have been bored. If you would have told me to stretch, it would have been boring. But because there was this thing that looked so cool, looking at someone that can really do it well, it just felt great. It gave me this feeling like, okay, I really want to do it tomorrow again. And then after 1-2 weeks, it was like, oh wow, look at this. I can already do this and this and that I couldn't do 3 weeks ago. It's like the highway, the freeway to progress, because with the breath, the stretching and the strength part all combined in a really nice way, you get, yeah, much faster results than if you do anything else. And the self-practice part makes it so you're really tuned into your body versus focused on a teacher. But, you know, 3 weeks in and oh my God, I can already do these things, that creates this motivation. But at the same time, oh, look at this, what I still cannot do. And then 1 year later, it's still that same place of, wow, that 1 year I learned so many things, but look at all these things I still cannot do. And essentially you have those are the sun salutes, the first 2 rows, and then there's the poses of standing, which we did the first 4 now. And then you have an inversion sequence, you know, the candle and the headstand and some breathing in a sitting position and the shavasana at the end. But in between you are learning the first series and then later the second series, and then there's the third and fourth and fifth and sixth series. So for the Western mind, you don't have to like see the details now, but the point here is there's always a next pose. And this linear approach in a way is really good for us Westerners that feel like progress is something to go for. But of course, eventually you learn progress in terms of getting another pose is just not really valuable. Like it gives you a moment, you know, just like getting a new car or getting this new item that you really want, you know, the new phone or whatever. It's like a momentary happiness, and then, okay, there's another thing to learn and another thing I cannot do. But that, for me, is really what is helping us Westerners to get into that system, because it gives us linear progress while at the same time almost sneaking in the progress in depth. Because again, I was in my 20s, I was really focused on everything rational, and if you would have told me anything spiritual, I would have said, well, I'm not really into that. Whatever, you know. Like, you know, bring me to an ashram where people are like, no, like I would have run away. And here I had this system that in my mind I was simply doing for the sake of physical, you know, feeling good, getting stronger, almost like calisthenics, you could say. But, you know, 2-3 years later, all of a sudden, you know, oh, they're singing a mantra at the beginning and at the end. Okay, let me sing along. And oh, wow, that actually feels good. And I'm feeling all these emotions inside of me, which, you know, me, guy in my 20s, growing up in Germany, obviously no connection to my emotions, but through the movement and the breathing, it just comes up and you process it through the practice. And so that's what I'm saying, like it sneaks in that aspect, those layers that we usually don't want to feel. And here I want to add another story. I said before that we started the workshop how this teaching of Mysore helped me a lot also as a parent, because parenting is essentially like teaching a Mysore class. And how it's also beyond the physical. Why can't we do certain things? Well, sometimes we just need to get stronger to get there, right? Like there is some physical limitation. But sometimes it's just mentally or emotionally that we are afraid, or that we just say, well, I cannot do that. And as long as we tell ourselves, I cannot do that, I cannot do that, I cannot do that, even if it's just subconsciously, we will not be able, like our body will refuse to do it. Like sometimes, you lift your hand up and it just gets stuck here because of tension, of stretch reflex. But sometimes the body thinks, I should only go to here and then I should stop. It's safe, stored somewhere in the brain. Like that's, everything beyond that is dangerous. And so it will go till here, and then it will create an engagement in the opposite direction. And so you have that idea that you cannot go higher, but actually it's just a blockage. Now, and it's the same with emotional stuff. Sometimes we just are emotionally stuck in our way. Now, as a kid, that's normal. But it's also easy to overcome because we haven't been patterned to say, oh, that's a bad emotion, I don't want to feel that, like aggression, anger, all the things we don't want to see in someone else. As a parent, we then say, don't be angry. And if we hear that enough times, then it's like, okay, anger, not good. If it comes up, I will push it away. Well, yeah. So I had this thing with my son. My son loves to be Spider-Man. I mean, he is Spider-Man. That's what he says. He even tells the story how he was bitten in school by a spider, a radioactive spider, and now he's Spider-Man. And there was we have this roof in front of our house, like a carport. So cars parked underneath, and it's essentially just 4 columns and a roof on top. And he was trying to get on it. And from a baby on, I was like, you want to go up there? Okay. And I was standing, with my hand under his bum, but not on his bum, just under. So, it was always safe, but he could always climb. And now he's essentially climbing up big rocket formations on the island, and like people are like, like seeing it and like getting crazy. But for me, it's like, okay, because it has been a steady progress, so I can trust that he will be good. Anyway, so he wanted to climb on top of the roof, and I said, well, try it. He was like, well, I'm a little afraid. Well, okay, well, I'm standing here under, like, even though he's maybe 2 meters up, but I was standing there, I was like, try. And then he was getting like angry, and he was like, no, I cannot do this, and he was crying, and he was like, oh, I will never be able to get up there. And I said, good, cry, let it out. I was hugging him. I said, this is great, like, why do you want to get up there today? Like, you never talked about it, and today all of a sudden you start crying about going up there. Embrace that emotion, feel it, let it out. You can cry, you can scream, whatever you want to do. I can hug you. And then the next day, to make a story short, I said, we'll just do it again tomorrow, or whenever you want to. Next day, we are going out with the dogs, and he's like, can I go try again today? Sure, just wait a moment while I'm letting the dogs run for a moment. And as I come back, he's already up there and saying, hey, I'm up here. So I was like, that's amazing. So essentially what happened, in my view, is he released the emotion that stopped him from doing the movements that created fear of falling, and etc., or the fear of the unknown, and now all of a sudden he could do it. Now, coming back to Mysore, people, they want to go up to handstand, but exactly that thing happens. They are stopped somewhere in the middle, and then they're like, But we are not anymore 7. We are in our 20s, 30s, 40s, so we don't even feel that emotion. Or it's like, oh, I feel something, I'm not going to do handstand. And so we find mental ways to explain why it's not a good idea to do it. But essentially, it's just avoidance of that emotion, what the child still does naturally and brings it out. And if we allow it, it just comes out. It might take a day, or it might take 10 minutes. It might take a week. But then we can do it. And how many times as we go through the day are we stopping ourselves from doing something that would actually be great, because we are stopping, we have something inside that just, is so hidden, and just we don't do it. We don't get the new job that we would love to. We don't leave a relationship we hate, but we're just staying in because it's comfortable. It's known to us, and my teacher in India, he was like, well, people start Ashtanga yoga and then 3 months later they quit their job. It was a joke, but there is some truth in it, because as we start connecting ourselves to our body again and our feelings and our authenticity, we just stop taking crap anymore, in a way. We stop accepting certain things that we know deep down inside are not good for us anymore. Now, how does that work? Well, obviously it's still a magic thing to me as well, but because we move and connect it with the breath, if the moment we stop, we don't breathe when we do something, we can force ourselves. But as it's very hard to force yourself, because the moment we force, we go against our true, what is okay for us in that moment, we have to stop breathing. Right? And so this thing of going essentially through every possible movement, range of movement in all the joints in our body, we free up that energy that life has stuck in there, or our way of dealing with life. And that's what's so freeing about this practice. And that's why for me it's the most amazing practice, because it does all these things. Now, when you come to a Mysore class, you have some people who are very advanced, some people advanced in the sense they are putting themselves in pretzel poses that maybe you cannot do yet. And then there's beginners. And when you come to your first month of Mysore, what would usually happen is that we say, okay, I want you to commit at least for 1 month to come 3 times a week. I mean, we now have 3 times a week of practice, so 3 times. And the other days, at least do the sun salutes at home. And so if someone comes and they haven't been to this workshop, so the first day I just show them the sun salute A. If they can do it easily, I say, do it 5 times. Then I would show them sun salute B. If they can do it, easy, go 5 times, and then I would show them the first pose. If they are already not really sure about sun salute A, I would just repeat it with them until they can do it by themselves, and then just keep repeating it. And maybe that's 15, 20, 30 minutes. Now they are really tired because they have done, 20, 25 sun salutes. Now take Shavasana, go home. Next day, next day they do it by themselves, or they come back to class. Again, they do sun salute A if they can do it. Now sun salute B. Then first pose, second pose, etc. Okay? Now, at a certain point I might even say, okay, now you can do the whole standing sequence, the first 5, 6 standing poses. So just do it twice. Go through it twice. Because there's still, you're still not 100% sure what to do, when to do, so just do it twice. And so you already have a nice 20, 30-minute practice that you kind of know by yourself, and that's only 1 week. And then second week, third week, you always add 1 or 2 poses, if they can do it, if they can. And of course, at the beginning, there might be modifications. until you get to a pose that you really cannot do. But now, at that point, after 2-3 weeks, you are at this place where you can leave for the summer vacation and you have your 20-minute practice that you always know what to do. You just have to roll out your mat and start your practice. So now you can have, every day those 15 minutes, 20 minutes. And even if you just have 5 minutes, just do 5 sun salutes, shavasana, finished. Right? But it's this new thing that you're doing daily. And that centers you, that brings you back to, okay, maybe yesterday you had a fight with someone and, today you really feel stuck, in your ways, like your body is, you do the sun salutes, you move your spine, you move the whole body, and all of a sudden, okay, that energy is moving, that tightness is released. Just that thing of, can I release any unnecessary tension? And now you are freer for the rest of the day. You do that for 4 weeks, you have a great practice, and very likely you will find a pose, that you really cannot do. And so at some point in that sequence, you get stuck. And the idea is to be stuck and go through everything that you need to learn, physically, emotionally, mentally, to learn that pose. Of course, one could add more poses, like just skip over the pose you cannot do and just do another one that is maybe equal or similar, or But why would we do that? We now that you have a 30, 40, 50-minute practice, if you're stuck, that means there's something to learn. And so you are stuck until you know, until you've figured out. And so just by doing it every day again and getting to that point and maybe feeling the frustration or feeling, especially like with back bends, people feel emotions, people feel like, oh, I'm stuck, I cannot open my heart, I want to cry, I want to scream. Yes, great. It's not like, oh, you shouldn't do it if that comes out. No, that's stuck in you. Do you want that stuck in you? No. We want to sweetly approach that stuff, those monsters you could call them, that are stuck inside, and breathe through them. And as we do that on a daily basis, we become lighter. It's like, oh, not so bad. Maybe we cry, maybe we get really angry at the teacher or at ourselves or at the other person that can do it. But again, it's almost like we want to bring all that stuff out, and if it comes out, it's not like maybe as a child, no, don't feel that, don't think like that, this is a bad way of thinking or feeling, but no, this is an emotion that is alive in you, bring it out, okay? And essentially the teacher is there to give you guidance when you need it, but leave you alone when you don't need it, and hold the space for you. So even if you're just coming and even not getting any attention, we are still holding the space for each other. And the group just, with the group you have that group energy, you have that motivation of being in a group and, oh yeah, well, I didn't really feel like it, but everybody showed up, I also showed up, I did something, I felt stiff, but I did it anyway. And also inspiration, like, oh wow, this person, he couldn't do that thing that I cannot do now 3 weeks ago, and now I saw him, he just managed to do it. Yes, I'm happy for him. It also gives me this idea that I could eventually do it in 2-3 weeks. And so the practice becomes this thing where for 80-90% of the practice you're doing something that you can do, that you know by heart, and that just brings you into your flow every day. And then for 10-20% of the practice, you do something that is uncomfortable, that makes you frustrated, that you really have to work on, maybe because you're still too weak, your muscles have to get stronger, you have to be, maybe there's some tension that you still want to release, and that brings you out of your comfort zone. And here's also where it really creeps into your life, because if you in the morning do something that makes you frustrated, and then you just breathe through it and get light again. And now you go into, your daily life, and there's, a car cutting you off, and you're like, before you would have been really frustrated, but now it's like, well, I already went through this really weird thing this morning where I, put myself into some funny shape. I can be now above that and just see, he must be in a hurry, Does it make sense, what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, good. And David Williams, one of the first guys that went to India to learn this in Mysore, where Patapi Joyce was teaching, that's why it's called the Mysore approach, or Mysore style of teaching, because he was not teaching in lab classes, but in this way. Like, you come, you do, and I'm walking around giving you support. And yeah, a modern way would be, like, if you want to take it away from that, it would be to call it guided self-practice, because everybody's doing the self-practice, but there's a guidance, like there's a teacher and he's supporting you. And because you know what to do, he doesn't have to focus on, okay, what do you actually have to do, but he can be focused on, well, let's make this a little more efficient, let's add a little difficulty because you are already good in doing this, or let's, oh, you're injured, whatever. Let's make it a little easier for you. So just to give you the example of the sun salute, right? So this morning we did this. I want to stay now for 5 breaths. If I want to make it even easier, I could be like, you know, like hands apart. If I want to make it a little more difficult, or you know, somebody wants to build more strength, right? So you can always add a little difficulty or take it away, depending on what is needed for the individual. And when we started this morning, I didn't start with explanation, but I started with, okay, let's start doing it. Because David Williams, one of the first Ashtangis that came from America and learned in India in the 70s, he said it so nicely, before you have practiced, all theory is useless. After you have practiced, the theory is obvious. And you know, 99% practice, 1% theory. Like, yeah, sometimes we need a little theory or a little sharing of experience to actually start it. And I hope, you know, obviously to encourage you today to start that thing, to start that journey. But yeah, I can explain to you, you know, for many years why it's so amazing to practice, but unless you practice, and unless you practice in Mysore, you will never know how it is to practice in Mysore. And people feel intimidated because from the outside it always looks like all the people are so advanced. I mean, simply because they just know what to do. Like, isn't that crazy? But actually, the moment you have practiced, it's like, yeah, it's actually easy. Like, you know, you could do it today, right? You just did it. Did you know that you can do the sun salutes? Did you know that you can do the first 3 poses? I mean, maybe you knew because I think you even came to Mysore once or twice.
No, but yeah, I know something.
Yeah, but you know, it's like, okay, actually not too bad. And the reason why people look so advanced, apart from that they just know what to do, is because they are stuck at the things that they cannot do. Now, if you could go to vinyasa class or, you know, like where it's more flexible, where it's not one sequence and everybody has to do that. That's great, there's reasons to do it like that, but it's then very easy to just do what feels good, to just do what is fun. We just end up doing the things we are already good at, because that's the most fun, you know, at the beginning, to do the things we can do. But the things that we cannot do, that we have to put a little work in, or a little bit of focus, that's where the growth lies. And that's what we omit when we just do what is fun. And so like I said, the target is actually to find a pose that is a struggle for you. And you could even say, you know, the people that go into advanced poses, it's like they had to go all this way to finally find a pose that they have to work on. You know, blessed are the people that are already stiff in the first forward bend, because that's already where they can learn something. You know, oh, you have to put your leg behind the head to feel something. You know, how's that for you? You know, I can barely bend forward. That's already a big struggle. You know, in a way, you know, and now. Because of the approach of self-practice and having those poses out of your comfort zone and the teacher going around and assisting, hands-on assists, there has been also, of course, lots of stories about people getting injured, which on the one hand is teachers sometimes just don't really know well how to adjust, or they adjust too strongly, because in India, when you get adjusted, it's usually quite strong. And if you get a strong adjustment where the teacher knows what he or she is doing, it's usually great, because it doesn't push you deeper, it actually opens it opens the space that you just didn't access because you weren't aware of it. But if you just get pushed deeper into a pose where you are already feeling like a stretch, that's not good. And what I tell people in my class is, I will adjust you if that's okay for you. And most people say, yeah, that's okay, that's why I'm here. And then I say, well, whenever you don't feel like getting adjusted, or if you feel that an adjustment was not really feeling well, always let me know. Or if you have an injury, or if you just don't feel like it, on one specific day, there's this communication between teacher and student. So it's very clear that also there's no power difference. Like, you know, you are here to practice, and the teacher is there to support. What easily comes out of the Ashtanga approach of you go until where you can go, and then the teacher tells you, okay, now work on this pose. And of course, what the Western mind often makes out of this is, I'm telling you that you cannot go further. And the Ashtanga approach is, you know, like linear. Until you can do this pose, you cannot go further. So it creates this like, I really want to go further. And the teacher says, no, you can't, right? And now we have this thing. For me, like I said, I'm not dogmatic. Like there's, you know, lots of Ashtangis that are very dogmatic. Like, no, this is, you know, the teacher has the power over you. He tells you not to go further. You don't go further. And then, you know, the teacher gives you the new pose. Like, now you may. And of course, people are also attracted to that. Like, oh, my teacher gave me a new pose. You know, now we are projecting, you know, all the good into the teacher, and the teacher is so wise, and he knows me better than I know myself, and he knows when I'm ready. No, this is not how it works. This practice for me is all about empowerment. So some people actually need, like, okay, here's another pose, because they are actually, no, I don't want to go any further. I still have so much to learn. So they're actually holding themselves back. They could potentially go further, but they hold themselves back. So the teacher's there to say, hey, come on, you know, go a little further. You can do it, like as an encouragement. And then there's other people that have a big ego, and are like, no, I'm totally able to do the other things. And then if the teacher says no, they're like, oh, you know, like but I am, you know, like who's that teacher to tell me? So they push themselves then to go further, like I will approve him. And the practice is there to give you those teachings, like, no, maybe it's for you, it's better to do that. But I will never tell you, you know, like you are not allowed to go further. I might say, I might explain it, I might give you a reason, like you want to have a practice that supports your energy every day, like I was explaining before. And so if you don't work on that one pose that I think you should work on, because it will actually open you up, but instead you're doing 5 more poses, you're modifying that one, you know, making it simple enough so you can do it, and then you do just 5, 10 more poses, what did you really learn? You didn't learn anything because you modified the one pose where you could learn something by actually doing it fully. And then you added 10 more poses that you don't really learn anything from. So you want that thing where the practice is easy enough to flow through it, to make it a meditation in movement, because you know the poses, because you do them every day. And then 1 or 2 places where you're struggling, where you have to put extra energy, where you maybe repeat the pose, because that's where your growth lies. And if you just substitute that one pose where you could learn something with 10 other poses, you will not get that. You might have a little more flow, but you want that both, you know. You want the flow and you want the challenge. And that's where a teacher is good, because he can or she can give you that outside perspective, like for you, based on my experience, based on what I see. And plus, there's all these extra details that you can learn because you don't need to learn anymore how to do a specific pose, so there's more details. And, you know, I remember that the one class where we just did 3 hours of inhale, exhale. Like essentially we just did the first movement of the practice for 3 hours. But there is a certain thing you learn from, you know, doing that for the 150th time. And so there's always a way to go deeper, also because we want to get to a point where it's not just, okay, Tuesday morning, here we go again. Wednesday morning, here we go again. Like this repetitive, like my mind is off and I'm just doing, but rather I'm putting awareness into the same movement, so more details come to the surface, more stuck energy unveils itself, and so on, right? Okay, any question about why Mysore is so amazing?
No, not really. Everything seems very logical.
Okay. Any question about the practice itself?
Sometimes when I'm doing like a yoga pose, I'm actually not sure like what I should feel.
Mm-hmm.
Like what I should be paying attention to.
Mm-hmm.
So I suppose I should just like maybe read something about it, or.
So there is nothing you should feel, right? I mean, people bend forward and feel hamstring stretch. Other people feel nothing. Other people feel the calves, you know. So there's nothing that the right way to feel a pose. And I would even go so far to say you shouldn't feel intense stretch. So if you can flow through the practice at a certain moment, you know, at the beginning, of course, we need to, for most of us, we have to grow our flexibility or our mobility. But for, let's say, for an established practice, if you don't feel a stretch, that's great. If you don't feel the normal things that we, you know, usually go for, like a stretch, or now I'm deep in it because I can feel, you know, that muscle. Because a stretch is actually a sign, stop here. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't go deeper, but for example, you know, if I just go forward, I don't feel any stretch. Now, let's say I feel a stretch already here. Now, I don't want to go deeper into that stretch, but rather, maybe I'm slightly rolling. You can actually stand up and go with me, right? So let's say you go into a forward bend and just check where you feel the stretch in your hamstrings and stop there. Okay? Now, one way would be, you know, which I'm not encouraging, is to say, okay, there's a stretch, let me feel it more intensely. And then, now I really feel strong stretch. And if I do that, you know, 50 days in a row, likely there will be some tear, micro tear, that is not good. And now I'm injured. And now I'm saying Ashtanga creates hamstring injuries, which is true. Lots of people get a hamstring injury because of all the forward bends. But because they have this idea of, oh yeah, let me go deeper into that pain.
Or is the no pain, no gain method?
In a way. Oh yeah, let me talk about pain after that. So now, instead, we go where we feel the stretch mildly, we back a little off. Now, press the ball of the big toe into the floor, soft bend in the knees. Try to rotate your thighs outward, slightly round your lower back, and then go into that same place and ask yourself, do I feel the same stretch? Or is it better? Okay, so now I can go a little deeper. Maybe if I go a little deeper, I feel another stretch. Okay, now I'm backing off just a little bit, and now I'm inhaling. I'm exhaling, relaxing my face. Then again, inhale. And as I exhale, go into the same place. Now, inhale, come back up. Did the breathing help? Was it the same intensity, less intensity? Okay, so see now, just by a couple of details in alignment and the breath, I could go much deeper without feeling the stretch. And that's essentially what we're looking for. I want to get to know my body so that I don't feel the warning signal, meaning the stretch, but I can still increase or reach my potential of range of movement. Right?
But these small adjustments are something that you have to learn from your teacher. It's not intuitive.
Well, let's put it like this. What we did now, those 2-3 things, you can now apply to all the forward bends. So, you might come to Mysore and you might say, well, I feel the stretch. It doesn't feel comfortable. And then I might cue you through that one pose. And now you apply it to all the other poses, and all of a sudden your whole practice, lifted one level. Or, you might be in a forward bend and you might do this with your neck. And now I'm just adjusting your shoulders, creating length in your neck. Or, if that's not enough, I might tell you, I put my hand here, you can do that by yourself, and now push your head back. And all of a sudden you feel that whole length, that almost, like this drawing of energy through your whole spine as you reach back, because your spine all of a sudden is alive and engaged. And again, apply that one little principle, that one little cue to many, many poses, and I might repeat it, the same adjustment in various poses, and all of a sudden, that feels much better. Or, put yourself like that and just go into a forward bend. Again, check where you feel the stretch, back off just a little bit, and now push with the ball of the big toe into the floor, and then reach the floor away, like push your foot away without moving it. So you're just creating an engagement in this direction. And see again if you can go a little deeper or not. Right? So again, come back out. One little cue, and all of a sudden you felt you could go deeper. And I could now give you a list, by email after the workshop. Here's your 15 things that you can do to avoid hamstring stretch pain. But would you be able to do it? Probably not. But if you come to Mysore and I show you one cue, and now you apply that maybe through 1, 2, 3 days. In home practice, but also here. Maybe I'm repeating it, or maybe you're doing it, and then I give you another cue, and that makes that first cue a little more clear. And now you have established that cue as, consciously skilled, eventually consciously unskilled. Unconsciously skilled. You're just doing it now. You don't even know that you're doing it. And now I'm adding the second cue, and the third cue, and the fourth cue. And like this, within 2-3 months, you are the expert in forward bends without feeling any stretch, because you applied them one by one, felt them, experienced them on your body. And now, coming back to, for example, the teacher training, if you now try to teach that, you might have to remind yourself of all the cues that you learned, but it will be very easy to teach it after you have heard it again, because it's like, oh yeah, I learned those cues myself, now I have them written down, now I can easily teach them. So the list is for you as teachers, potentially, you know, okay, those are 20 cues, now I want to teach them, and that will repeat it for yourself, you know, so you will be more firm in the things that you do. So that's also how you learn with teaching. You do it, you see someone doing something, you know, you said with the violin, you see something doing some funny movement, and then the next time you practice, you will think of yourself like, how is that person even doing that? How does that feel? Now you also learned, oh yeah, actually sometimes I'm doing that myself. So you learn through teaching, right? And so when you teach, sometimes you don't know what the person is feeling. Like, you know, maybe that person has a certain issue that you never had. But if you have that self-practice approach, that you know your body very well, now when you see someone doing something, you're like, okay, what's this person doing? So you start by really observing well, then you do it in your own practice, because of course you never stop practicing. Ah, okay, that's what the person's doing. Ah, yeah, now I can actually create the pain that the person was telling me about, and now what could I tell the person to improve that, just by, you know, figuring it out by myself. So it's really that basic thing that allows you to, and of course you could be your own student in a way, like, you know, maybe in 2 months maybe you go skiing and you have an injury, and now, or you know, it just feels off, you know, it doesn't have to be like a torn muscle, but okay, something is off today. You go into your practice and now you are the observer. Okay, this is happening, I can adjust like this, I can adjust that. Let me find a way to do my practice that I know by heart, that I have figured out over many months of practicing, and now I can figure out a way how to help myself. Of course, you could also come to Mysore and get the teacher's idea, but what I'm trying to get here is, again, about empowerment. You will know what to do with your body because you have worked on it so many times without the need. You know, the problem is, you can sit down again if you want. The problem with nowadays is people have no connection to their body, and then if life throws them off in some way, or now I'm injured, they don't know what to do, and they go to a physiotherapist who gives them like, okay, do this, and they're like, yeah, okay, I will do this. But they're not in it, you know, they don't understand it, they don't even know like how that now affects their body, you know. Our bodies are essentially, you know, the bony structure who is held up by muscles. Oftentimes we see the skeleton and we think, okay, the skeleton by itself stands, because the skeleton that we see is usually standing, you know, because it has an iron rod through the ass, you know. But actually, it's our muscles that hold up our bones, right? And now we go through life 24 hours a day, and we maybe sit like this. Click, 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 click with the mouse, you know. And now, or, you know, having the phone like this. And so our bodies are amazingly intelligent. They will adjust to that. And so they will create a tension pattern that maybe just looks like that. Maybe it's not even visible from the outside, but I don't know why I always have this tension on this side and this side. And then we may get pain in the hips or in the lower back, or, you know, headaches, just because something we do with our shoulders, or something we do, you know, well, because we're standing always on that one side, hanging in the bones, in the joints, instead of letting the muscles support us. And then we eat, you know, and the eating, maybe, you know, gluten or whatever it might be that we react to, creates an inflammation in one part of the body. And now our body starts creating a protective tension. You know how when you have a pain and you softly pressure against it, it feels a little better. Our body does that by itself without us noticing. So if there's a little inflammation maybe in the appendix, it will start creating a protective tension. I'm exaggerating a little. And simply by creating that, we might get lower back pain, we might get knee pain, we might get shoulder pain, depending on where the body is adjusting the whole posture to do that. And so as we go through increasingly challenging movements, and as we get this relationship with our own body, we can now, first of all, notice much earlier, something is off, right? You don't notice it when you just walk, sit, you know, the normal things we do. But if you, you know, do this every morning, if you bend forward every morning, if you do a twist every morning, you'd notice it's like this mirror. You know, you look into the mirror in the morning and you're like, oh, I look tired, I look great, whatever it might be. And the practice is that mirror for your whole body, mind connection. You know, oh, today I'm a little restless. Today my breathing is a little off. Today I'm very stiff. And so you learn how to acknowledge that without judgment and kind of sweetly work with your body instead of against it. Because what most of us have, you know, society-wise, ingrained in us is like, my body has to function. I just posted a couple of days ago about, like, people tell me, like, yeah, and I have this anxiety and this panic attacks, but they talk about it like, you know, well, you know, it's a thing, it's normal. I know many people who have that. We don't talk about it. This pill helps, you know. Like, we have really big challenges, problems, and we are like, yeah, but it's normal. So, and what I'm suggesting is we all need this practice. Could be breathing practice, right? You already did the breathing practice thing. And the movement practice, so we have this connection, so we notice, okay, this what I'm doing here is really feeling not good for my body. And if I actually listen to my body, I acknowledge it, and now I can change it. Instead of, oh, well, no, now it's 20 years later, now it's too late, right? And yeah, so for me, it's really that integral practice that is for you as a personal practice, but also if you want to teach ever, it's working mentally, emotionally, spiritually. I mean, what is spiritual practice? Essentially something that makes us more aware of our body, mind, emotions, and allows us to grow on those challenges, on those discomforts. Oh yeah, pain. I wanted to mention one thing about pain. Pain also is something where, you know, you have that one camp that says no pain, no gain. Obviously problematic in certain ways. And if there's pain, you should not go there, right? Like, pain is not good. Avoid pain. And, you know, like, I'm going into a forward bend. If you go into a forward bend in Mysore, and you're like, oh yeah, well, I have pain. What I would usually say is, well, back off a little bit. And now, is it from like 0 to 10, 10 being the most intense pain you ever had, 0, no pain, is it like a 1 or is it a 9? Well, it's a 3. Okay. Is it stretchy pain? Like you feel a muscle being stretched? Is it compression? Like, okay, tissues being compressed against each other? And now we can work with it, right? So the pain is a great signal. You know, without pain, we would be in trouble because we would just do things and constantly hurt ourselves. So pain is a great thing. It's a beautiful signal of the body that tells us something. Don't do that. But some people are like, ooh, there's a little pain. Let me not do that pose at all. And then there's other people, oh, pain. Okay, let me go a little deeper. So let's be intelligent and say, what kind of pain is it? And now, can you go from here to there? Oh yeah, the pain is gone. Oh no, it's not gone? Okay. Can you breathe while you do it? Oh yeah, it's already much better. But also, just don't go as deep. Like, go where it's a challenge, but not a strong pain, and now play with it, explore it. Can you relax into it? Can you use that exhalation? Is it constricting your breath? So, okay, if you actually establish the breathing pattern first and then we move into it, is it still there? And so, you know, where society teaches us to either ignore in one way or another, I'm like, okay, let's work with all we have so we can be very intelligent about everything. Because there's always a need behind it all that we can identify and then address. And in that way, we also move away from victimhood, like, oh yeah, well, you know, because of my boss, because of society, because of my inheritance, because of, like my heritage, not my inheritance.
Well, that's also a problem.
Yeah, that's also a problem, yeah. You know, I'm in the trouble that I am in, right? But no, I create every situation every day. I'm not at fault for the situation, but I created it, right? I have my responsibility in that situation. And so if I approach the practice like that and I learn, I am feeling really empowered because I can deal with my pain, I feel my body is connected, I know how to move. Now I feel more confident as I'm moving through life, as I'm walking, as I'm presenting in front of, at work. So being connected with your body allows you to deal with those situations in daily life, and the same is true for the emotions and the mental thing. Plus, you actually really train your awareness muscle. So you can use it throughout the whole day instead of it fatiguing, and now you're just on autopilot. And so, so that's why this practice is so amazing. And just shortly, you always essentially have the sun salutes at the beginning, some, essentially the last 3 poses is just, and we'll get to that in a moment, right? Sitting in a cross-legged position, eventually it's lotus, going forward, 5 breaths, coming back up, 5 to 20 breaths, and then lying down in Shavasana. And in between, you add as many poses as you wish. So you can also choose, okay, today I'm having a shorter practice, tomorrow I'm having a longer practice. And in terms of organizational-wise, our Mysore classes in the morning are from 7 to 9, meaning you can show up from 6:45 on. You just come in, you roll out your mat, you start your sun salute. If that's 6:45, that's fine. If that's at 8, that's also fine. You just have to be finished by 9. The door is usually open. Downstairs, you can just push the door in, and it opens. If not, you can still ring. And when you're done with Shavasana, you roll up your mat, you leave. And I think I have said it all. So if there's any other question, let me know.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is there a possibility that some sort of aspect of your physical build can prevent you from doing a specific pose? For example, I have the really short tendon on my foot, so I'm not sure if I'll be able to do a lotus pose because I can't shape my foot as needed to, go into it. Is it something that can be worked on, or do I just have to accept that it's not something I can do?
Both. I mean, first of all, it's amazing what the body can learn, right? Just to give a really extreme example, because it's always making people cringe. It's like, at the beginning, you just do this pose, and that might already be a struggle, maybe the knee is up and you don't get it down. And then eventually, there's this pose where you have that heel up, so it's a strong internal rotation. And in an ideal world, there's no problem in the knee because the knee is just closed. It all comes from the hip. And then there's this third series pose where you roll over and sit down on the outside of your heel. And again, there's nothing in the knee, it's all coming from the hip. But if the hip doesn't do the movement, of course, the knee will pop, and that's not a good thing. But yeah, exactly, right? You looked away because it looks so weird. And so the first time I saw this, I was like, I will never be able to do that, right? It's a natural reaction, this is just impossible. How is that even that he doesn't pop his knee? Because we cannot, it's just out of our, we never see that happening. Unless you're in Ashtanga, you never see this. And of course, that's true for many poses. And some people, at the beginning, I was just, there's this pose where you squat with your heels down, and then you do a twist, and you come up. I won't do it fully now because I'm not warmed up, but now, at the beginning, this was impossible for me. Now, I almost consider it like everybody should be able to do that. At the beginning, I was like, well, okay, Ashtangis do that. Ashtangis are able to eventually, through practice, get there, but for most people, it's a weird pose that just... But actually, yeah, we should all be able to do at least that. Maybe without the twist, but it should be possible for all.
You mean having the heels on the floor?
The heels down in this position and having strong enough shin muscles that we are not falling back. Now, for some people, because of their bony structure here, because you were talking about the, that part, for some people, because that bone here is so big, they cannot get into that angle. Like they can only get to here. And so for them, they actually have to, get their heels a little elevated, and now they don't need to anymore bend that much. So bony structure, of course, is something that you can not really change. However, all the poses are put together with all the joints in the body. So some people have a longer spine, some people have a shorter spine, some people have a wider pelvis, a narrower pelvis, broader shoulders, less broad shoulders. There's natural differences between women and men, right? In the shape of their body, in the hormonal setup of their body. So yes, there's the individual thing and what someone can do. But at the same time, like there's this one book of yoga where they talk a lot about the individual differences. Like for example, the hip, the length of the thigh bone, and it's sitting in the pelvis like this. And for some people, the angle is like this. For some people, the angle of the bone is like this. Some people have a torsion in the bone. So when they have a straight bone, the knee looks out or in. And for some people, it just is straight. So those differences, of course, make a difference then if you want to do a lotus or want to put the leg behind the head. And so, yes, there is natural differences of people. So some people might not be able to do a certain thing, but everybody can work on the same thing and get some benefit out of learning certain movements. Now, for example, there's this jump back, where you lift up and pull back. And depending on, if you have really long arms, a medium length spine, and short legs, that will be much easier for you. Also, smaller people tend to have a easier time with all the crazy, handstand stuff because, proportionally, they have to be less strong because of the smaller size than if you have a 2-meter person. But, yeah, you would be surprised what you can reach in terms of, bendiness, but also mobility, also because you start learning how to use your whole body together. So the forward bend is not only limited by your hamstring, but by your spine, by your pelvis, by many other things. So yeah, there's hope. But yeah, I do have that thing where, some people, I let them move. So that's also where how long are you stuck at a specific pose, right? For some people, where you see they can do the pose, they just haven't figured it out yet. They will get stuck at a specific pose longer than a person where you see after 2-3 months, well, with their body type and with how they, with their age, with everything, maybe for them, they can move on because they have learned as much as they could from that one pose and they don't need, like mastery of the pose doesn't mean it looks like the picture of someone else doing the pose. The pose doesn't exist until you do it. So your pose will always be, you doing Trikonasana, you doing a forward bend, you doing the sun salute. And you can never compare that to me or, to any other person in the room because it's always you doing that pose. So like, oh yeah, that person can so easily put the leg behind the head. Yeah, okay, but so what, right? Okay. Any other question? It was a good question. Great question. Like in terms of, next Tuesday you come to Morning Mysore, if you can on the mornings, right? Anything that holds you back from that now, right now. You know what to do, you know how to do it, you know why you would do it. Any insecurity that would stop you from coming.